National Electrical Code Section 680.26 addresses equipotential bonding grids for permanently installed pools. This section mandates that if a permanent pool lacks an existing equipotential bonding grid, a field-installed grid must be provided. This requirement stems from the 2023 National Electrical Code, which incorporated 680.263 as part of the 2020 National Electrical Code revision cycle. The primary reason for this addition is to ensure that all permanently installed pools, regardless of their construction material, possess a properly implemented equipotential bonding grid. This grid serves as a crucial safeguard against electrical shock hazards. Prior to the 2023 National Electrical Code, there existed some ambiguity concerning the necessity of equipotential bonding grids for non-metallic pools. The updated requirement explicitly states that every permanently installed pool, irrespective of its composition, must be equipped with an equipotential bonding grid. This encompasses fiberglass pools, plastic above-ground pools, non-metal pools, and all other types of permanently installed pools. It is important to emphasize that this requirement pertains specifically to permanently installed pools. Therefore, it does not extend to pools that are not permanently installed, such as inflatable or portable pools. When installing a field-installed equipotential bonding grid, adherence to the stipulations outlined in 680.26 is paramount. The bonding grid must adhere to the following specifications. Firstly, the bonding grid must consist of a bare copper conductor with a minimum size of 8 American wire gauge. Secondly, the grid must be strategically positioned within the pool area. Thirdly, the grid must be securely connected to all metallic components present within the pool area. This encompasses the pool structure itself, the filter pump, and any pool ladders or other metallic appurtenances. Fourthly, the grid must be installed in a manner that guarantees its protection from potential damage. In summary, Section 680.263 of the National Electrical Code mandates the installation of a field-installed equipotential bonding grid for all permanently installed pools. This provision serves as a vital measure to mitigate electrical shock hazards and was incorporated into the National Electrical Code to clarify the bonding requirements for non-metallic pools. The equipotential bonding grid is designed to minimize voltage differences in and around the pool, thereby reducing the risk of electric shock to people in or near the water. Here's a more detailed explanation of the requirements. Firstly, the purpose of equipotential bonding is to create an electrical connection that minimizes voltage differences between metallic parts and conductive surfaces in and around the pool. Secondly, this is achieved by connecting these parts to a common bonding grid or conductor. Thirdly, Section 680.26 specifically addresses the requirements for this bonding grid when one is not already present. Fourthly, the grid must be constructed of a conductive material, typically bare copper wire that is at least 8 American wire gauge in size. Fifthly, this conductor must be arranged in a grid pattern around the pool. Sixthly, the spacing and configuration of the grid are important for effective bonding. Seventhly, all metal parts within a specified distance of the pool, such as metal fittings, pump housings, and ladders, must be bonded to this grid. Eighthly, this bonding ensures that if a fault occurs, the voltage potential between these parts and the surrounding area remains low, reducing the risk of electric shock. Ninthly, the grid must be buried or placed under the pool's surface, following the guidelines in the National Electrical Code. Tenthly, the connections to the grid must be secure and corrosion resistant to maintain the integrity of the bonding system over time. Consider a scenario of a fiberglass pool installation. Firstly, a fiberglass pool is considered a non-conductive pool, but it often includes metal components like ladders, handrails, and pump housings. Secondly, before the 2023 National Electrical Code, the requirement for equipotential bonding in such pools was less clear. Thirdly, now, 680.263 makes it explicit that, even for fiberglass pools, if there's no existing bonding grid, one must be installed. Fourthly, the installation involves creating a grid of 8 American wire gauge bare copper wire around the pool, typically buried in the ground or concrete. Fifthly, all metallic parts of the pool, including the ladder, handrails, and the metal housing of the pool pump, must be connected to this grid using bonding connectors. Sixthly, this creates an equipotential plane, minimizing voltage differences in the pool area. Seventhly, if a fault occurs, such as a short circuit in the pool pump, the bonding grid helps to equalize the voltage, reducing the risk of electric shock to anyone in or near the pool. Eighthly, it's important to note that the bonding is not the same as grounding. Ninthly, grounding connects electrical systems to the earth to provide a path for fault current, while bonding connects metallic parts to minimize voltage differences. Tenthly, both grounding and bonding are crucial for electrical safety in swimming pools. In the case of plastic above ground pools, firstly, plastic above ground pools are also non-conductive, but they often have metal components such as ladders, filter pumps, and other accessories. Secondly, like fiberglass pools, these pools require an equipotential bonding grid if one is not already present. Thirdly, the grid is installed similarly to the fiberglass pool example, with 8 American wire gauge bare copper wire arranged around the pool. Fourthly, all metal parts of the pool, including the ladder, filter pump housing, and any metal supports, must be bonded to this grid. Fifthly, this ensures that if a fault occurs, the voltage potential between these parts and the surrounding area remains low, reducing the risk of electric shock. Sixthly, it's important to follow the National Electrical Code guidelines for the placement and depth of the bonding grid to ensure its effectiveness. Seventhly, the bonding connections must be properly made and protected from corrosion to maintain the integrity of the bonding system. Eighthly, the equipotential bonding is especially important in above-ground pools because they are often located closer to other electrical equipment and conductor surfaces, increasing the risk of electric shock. Ninthly, regular inspections and maintenance of the bonding system are necessary to ensure its continued effectiveness. Tenthly, this includes checking the connections for corrosion and ensuring that the grid is intact. The purpose of 680.263 is to provide a clear and consistent standard for equipotential bonding in all permanently installed pools, regardless of their construction material. Firstly, this reduces the risk of electric shock and ensures the safety of pool users. Secondly, the requirement for a field-installed grid when one is not already present eliminates any ambiguity and ensures that all pools meet the minimum safety standards. Thirdly, the specific requirements for the grid's construction, placement, and connections ensure that it is effective in minimizing voltage differences and reducing the risk of electric shock. Fourthly, the National Electrical Code's inclusion of this requirement reflects a commitment to improving electrical safety in swimming pools and protecting pool users from potential hazards. Fifthly, by following the guidelines in 680.263, installers and homeowners can ensure that their pools are safe and compliant with the latest electrical codes. Sixthly, the equipotential bonding is a critical component of a comprehensive pool safety plan, which should also include proper grounding, ground fault circuit interrupter protection, and regular inspections and maintenance of all electrical equipment. Seventhly, the National Electrical Code is regularly updated to reflect the latest safety standards and best practices. Eighthly, it's important to stay informed about these changes and ensure that all electrical work is performed by qualified professionals who are familiar with the current code requirements. Ninthly, the equipotential bonding requirements are not just limited to pools. Tenthly, they also apply to other bodies of water, such as spas and hot tubs, where the risk of electric shock is also present. Here's how to ensure compliance with 680.263. Firstly, hire a qualified electrician who is familiar with the National Electrical Code and the specific requirements for equipotential bonding in swimming pools. Secondly, ensure that the electrician performs a thorough inspection of the pool area to identify all metallic parts that need to be bonded. Thirdly, use only approved bonding connectors and materials that are suitable for the environment. Fourthly, follow the National Electrical Code guidelines for the placement and depth of the bonding grid. Fifthly, ensure that the bonding connections are properly made and protected from corrosion. Sixthly, have the electrician test the bonding system to ensure that it is functioning properly. Seventhly, schedule regular inspections and maintenance of the bonding system to ensure its continued effectiveness. Eighthly, keep records of all electrical work performed in the pool, including the installation and maintenance of the bonding system. Ninthly, educate yourself and your family about the importance of electrical safety in swimming pools. Tenthly, be aware of the signs of electrical hazards, such as tingling sensations in the water, and take appropriate action if you suspect a problem. Firstly, understanding the rationale behind 680.26.3 is crucial for effective implementation. Secondly, the goal is to create an equipotential plane around the pool, minimizing voltage gradients that could lead to electric shock. Thirdly, this is particularly important in areas where people are likely to be barefoot and in contact with water, which significantly reduces the body's resistance to electrical current. Fourthly, the bonding grid acts as a safety net, ensuring that any stray voltage is quickly dissipated, preventing dangerous voltage differences from developing. Fifthly, the 8 American wire gauge copper conductor requirement is based on the need for sufficient conductivity to handle potential fault currents. Sixthly, smaller conductors may not be able to carry the current necessary to quickly trip a circuit breaker or ground fault circuit interrupter, increasing the risk of electric shock. Seventhly, the connection of all metallic parts within the pool area is essential because any isolated metallic object could become energized if a fault occurs. Eighthly, by bonding these parts to the grid, they are maintained at the same potential, eliminating the risk of a voltage difference. Ninthly, the requirement for corrosion-resistant connections is critical because the pool environment is often wet and corrosive. Tenthly, corrosion can degrade the connections, reducing their conductivity and effectiveness. The exception for non-permanently installed pools is based on the assumption that these pools are less likely to be used in a way that creates a significant electrical hazard. Firstly, inflatable and portable pools are typically smaller and shallower than permanently installed pools. Secondly, they are also less likely to have permanent electrical connections, such as pool pumps and heaters. Thirdly, however, it is still important to exercise caution when using electrical equipment near these pools. Fourthly, always use ground fault circuit interrupter protected outlets and avoid using extension cords near the water. Fifthly, even though equipotential bonding is not required for these pools, it is still a good idea to keep electrical equipment as far away from the water as possible. Sixthly, in addition to the equipotential bonding requirements, the National Electrical Code also includes other important safety measures for swimming pools. Seventhly, these include requirements for grounding, ground fault circuit interrupter protection, and the placement of electrical equipment. Eighthly, grounding provides a path for fault current to return to the source, tripping a circuit breaker or ground fault circuit interrupter and disconnecting the power. Ninthly, ground fault circuit interrupters are designed to detect even small amounts of leakage current and quickly disconnect the power, preventing electric shock. Tenthly, the placement of electrical equipment is also important to minimize the risk of electric shock. The National Electrical Code specifies minimum distances for the placement of outlets, switches, and other electrical equipment from the pool. Firstly, the requirements in 680.26 are intended to work in conjunction with these other safety measures to provide a comprehensive level of protection against electrical hazards in swimming pools. Secondly, by following all of the applicable National Electrical Code requirements, you can help ensure that your pool is safe for you, your family, and your guests. Thirdly, remember that electrical work can be dangerous. Fourthly, it's essential to hire a qualified electrician to perform any electrical work on your pool. Fifthly, a qualified electrician will have the knowledge, skills, and experience to perform the work safely and in accordance with the National Electrical Code. Sixthly, they will also be able to identify any potential hazards and take steps to mitigate them. Seventhly, the National Electrical Code is a complex document and it can be difficult to understand all of the requirements. Eighthly, if you have any questions about the National Electrical Code requirements for swimming pools, consult with a qualified electrician or electrical inspector. Ninthly, they can provide you with the information and guidance you need to ensure that your pool is safe and compliant with the code. Tenthly, pool safety is an ongoing process, and it is important to stay informed about the latest safety standards and best practices. Firstly, regularly inspect your pool and electrical equipment for any signs of damage or wear. Secondly, repair or replace any damaged equipment immediately. Thirdly, make sure that all electrical connections are tight and corrosion-free. Fourthly, test your ground fault circuit interrupters regularly to ensure that they are functioning properly. Fifthly, educate yourself and your family about electrical safety in swimming pools. Sixthly, by taking these steps, you can help keep your pool safe for everyone. Seventhly, the Equipotential bonding grid is just one component of a comprehensive electrical safety plan for swimming pools. Eighthly, other important components include proper grounding, ground fault circuit interrupter protection, and regular inspections and maintenance of all electrical equipment. Ninthly, by implementing all of these safety measures, you can significantly reduce the risk of electric shock in and around your swimming pool. Tenthly, remember that electrical safety is everyone's responsibility. By working together, we can help keep our swimming pools safe for all to enjoy. Firstly, the intent of the Equipotential bonding requirements is to minimize the voltage gradient in the pool area. Secondly, a voltage gradient is a difference in electrical potential between 2 points. Thirdly, if a person is standing in the pool and touches a metal object that is at a different electrical potential, they could receive an electric shock. Fourthly, the Equipotential bonding grid helps to minimize this voltage gradient by connecting all of the metal objects in the pool area to a common electrical potential. Fifthly, this ensures that there is no significant voltage difference between any of the metal objects, reducing the risk of electric shock. Sixthly, the Equipotential bonding grid is not a substitute for grounding. Seventhly, grounding is intended to provide a path for fault current to return to the source, tripping a circuit breaker or ground fault circuit interrupter. Eighthly, the Equipotential bonding grid is intended to minimize the voltage gradient in the pool area, reducing the risk of electric shock. Ninthly, both grounding and Equipotential bonding are important for electrical safety in swimming pools. Tenthly, they work together to provide a comprehensive level of protection against electrical hazards.